here we have something a little bit different. You guys haven't seen this yet, have not seen this yet. This is the other project I've been working on along with the Moto 4. This is a 1998 EZ-Go Workhorse, I believe 1200. It's got the 350cc Robin engine in it, 2-cylinder. For the 2-cylinder, you got 2 spark plugs. This one's been a little bit of a beast to work on too, but I'm getting with it. Getting there with it. Oh man, well, the most screwy thing I had to deal with is I think this thing has been wrecked, rolled or something. That's the reason the canopy's missing, obviously. But this engine mount, if you can see that, there's an engine mount, the rear engine mount, attaches to the rear of the engine, comes out, and it's got 2 branches. One comes this way and one comes this way. This one's still here. This one was not. I literally had to fabricate a piece of metal to go under there so I could attach the rear axle to that side of the engine mount once again. That was a mess. It worked out though. It seems like it's holding pretty good. So I had to realign because these two brackets here were literally like bent, like almost like an S, because it was shoved over so hard, and I broke that apparently. So I had to undo this, undo under here. There was only one operational U-bolt holding onto the leaf springs on that side of the axle. So took all that off, trying to loosen it up, realign it and everything, which I think I got it pretty decent now. It's not perfect, I'm sure, but it's decent. It works. I had to get another one of those. I had to get 2 U-bolts here. There's a square U-bolt over there. This is circular U-bolts. Well, that was a square one down there, but yeah. So I made 2 pieces of metal there, which I guess they could have been thicker, but they're working. So there's underneath the bottom of this axle here, there's an actual kind of like trapezoidal kind of large pin about that big around. I had to drill a hole for that through that piece of metal there. So it'll sit up there and then line up here with the remaining part of the rear engine mount. Kind of see part of it. Yeah, you know what? I could probably use a flashlight here. Help out some. Okay. Where are we at? Okay. Yeah. That's a rear engine mount right there. Comes back. This side comes back through here to there. And you have that U-bolt holding onto the axle. Well, this side would have been kind of like that too. Came through there, but it broke off it was broken off right through there, and it was not attached to that at all. So the engine was kind of sitting downward, sideways, and everything was still kind of moved up. So I made that piece of metal, those 2, weld them together, had a hole in this one to go on the bottom of the axle. Had to drill 2 holes for that U-bolt, and that one's clamping that piece onto the remaining side of the engine mount. So that's got the, I don't think you can see it too well. I got the wheel on the way now, yeah. So there's that. So a little bit of fab going on there. There wasn't a bolt holding the secondary clutch on it all, so I found one that fit, threw some washers on it. It seems to be okay for now. That one works. The only thing that's kind of weird was the deal going on with the governor back here. When I got it, I noticed they had these 2 screws, these two like holding set screws kind of backed out, and it was just free floating on that governor rod right in there. So somebody was running this pretty hard, I guess. You know, detach the governor, and I can see there are wear spots in the top part of that one and the bottom part of that one. So they were apparently full throttling the freaking thing. I don't know what happened. That's probably what caused them to have the stupid wreck. Full throttling this thing, and then go flipping it over or something, because they're not always the most stable. This version is longer than a regular golf cart. That's a Workhorse. I mean, that right there is the bed. I got it sitting on its side, like so. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But, you know, they always say you don't want to run these engines at full throttle, because that's why the governor's even on there. So you don't end up overdoing it and wearing the engine out faster than you need to. But I don't know. I did have this out in the yard running around, so that was neat. So I got this running too. I didn't know the condition. It was all a big unknown. Got this at an auction. Unknown condition. It looked a little rough. The seat was pretty much toast. You can sit on it, it was rotten, falling apart. So I did get a new one. I got these two, upper piece, lower piece, and some of the hardware. Those brackets were holding on to the old ones, but I made them work for now. But that's a whole lot nicer to sit on. The brakes were, just like on the Yamaha, the brakes were barely even there at all. The two tires are on the back here. I got two new tires, just like the ones on the front, which was neat because I didn't want to get unmatching ones anyway. But two new tires in the back. The front one, or this one, was completely on this side. I don't know if it was the same one wheel wise, but this one was completely off the rim. I had to pull it, I had to crank it up onto my trailer with that down because I couldn't get air in it at all to stay because it was off the rim. So I ended up getting two new tires, just like pretty much like those. Those in the front are the same ones, and they do hold air. Over time it goes down. Of course, it's been cold. So when I had it out, I was driving a little bit funny because my digital tire gauge was showing 0, but even though it was still holding itself up pretty good. So it's just testament to the sidewalls, I guess. But these work pretty good still, so I kept them as is. Got these two new ones back here. I painted the rims semi-gloss white, so they wouldn't be just bright, shiny as crazy, because they really didn't need to. I think they look pretty good like that. But yeah, get new bushings. There's, you just kind of see under there again. I heated up and straightened out those two brackets on the end of the leaf spring there, and put new bushings in it, new hardware, and that's pretty good now. Got all that kind of shored up. The air box was completely missing. It had the original carburetor on it, which I believe that is it there. Yeah, that's the original carb. It was kind of messy. I was like, screw it, I'm just going to get a new one. So I got that one. That one, got the air box. I had to modify the air box because the only thing I could find that should allegedly have in it, I think. I had to shave down the surfaces on the mating surfaces inside there because they were sticking out too far, and apparently for some reason, unless that's not what's supposed to be on here, like the studs running through the carburetor were too short for that box the way it was, so I had to kind of shave that down, push it in. I had to kind of redo a little bit of the mounting side there to stabilize it, but I think I got it in pretty good now. I had to get another hose for the engine impulse that goes into the box, which that seems to be okay. I did get a new fuel pump, put new lines on, new fuel filter, and this, I did have to get a new siphon tube and a grommet because the old one was not doing a thing anymore. It was like the old siphon tube had literally disintegrated into an orange mush down the bottom of the tank. I should have cleaned that tank all better, but no, I can get to that later. I drilled the old hole out to about to a 1/2 inch with my step bit. The siphon tube, pop that down in there. I used a little bit of ATV oil to lube it to shove it in there, and hooked that to it, and we were getting fuel with the new pump and everything. I had to do some repairs on the old tank because these are a pain in the butt to get and too high to pay for. So I put some JB weld along that to tighten that back down. I had to rebuild, that was that one. This one, I kind of had to rebuild it because it was broken out, like right around my finger. It's pretty much broken out there, so I used some of that steel stick to sort of reform that and put some JB over it and kind of locked it in. It seemed like it was pretty good. And I used some screen and JB weld on this crack and the hole that had formed in it, possibly after it was wrecked, because everything kind of shifted this way on it. Even that bar, I actually put a piece of rebar in that because this was kind of like, this part here was like hanging this way more, like it was twisted. So put some piece of rebar in there and pulled it back this way and straightened it out, which caused that to go back farther away from that because this was touching this almost when I first tried to put this on. So that left some clearance there once I did that. I think this used to be the one with the gauge in it, but unfortunately it's not. It's gone. It's just a cap now. So, but it's okay. I mean, if you look down here and get enough light onto it, you can see some. I don't know if you can see any fuel moving around or not, but you can, daylight and whatever. You get the seat tilted up. That battery works pretty good. That's 500 cold crank amps. That ganglion right there was fun. Whoever had this before, it may not be the guy whose estate we got this from. Every one of these lines were cut apart, just chopped apart, hanging all over the place, and that fuse, inline fuse there, was between a few of these wires, like they were trying to get some of them to work, and the rest of them they just said screw it, But I got those back together. I soldered them, got tape them. I was going to shrink wrap them, but it wasn't going to work out too well, only because of it's too close there. I mean, they did get a little warm, so I was afraid I was going to shrink the shrink tubing before I got them moved over. So I just used tape. I might try to put some of the plastic corrugated kind of conduit deal, because that's part of the main wiring harness there. Well, the first big deal I had to deal with was they had that hole right there. They had another kind of ignition or some key switch, and it was all wired all weird and crazy in here. So I had to go find some diagrams and things, get in here, rewire this stuff back in a proper way. And I did, so finally got that through. But I couldn't get, that's a new key switch there I put in. But I couldn't get the lights to work. I didn't know how that was going on. Turned out, which I don't have it here, I ordered a new one because this one was so dirty. This fuse panel is what goes right here on the fender. Well, that is supposed to come from the battery. See, I always had this backwards. It comes from the battery, positive, to this, and then it gets branched out on different fuses onto different tabs that run to different accessories. So I was like, well, I got to figure that part out. So I finally figured out that one wire was going through here, comes through up to the key switch, and that is what gets your lights to work. So I got the lights working too. Of course, I don't have any rear lights yet, tail lights, but those are coming. I got a couple of LEDs coming in, so we'll have tail lights eventually. That's where got all the wires hanging out. The turn signal is in yellow on the right and white on the left. And then the blue is your main tail light. The brown is the brake light, which we don't have a brake light switch. Or don't have a brake light switch installed. Apparently it used to be that whoever had this before thought it was a great idea just to go around snipping wires and doing stuff like that, which that's aggravating as crap. But I'm getting it figured out. I mean, so I had the black is obviously going to be your ground. So I made sure that I put yellow to yellow, white to white, and red to red on here. And I singled out the one blue wire that powered the lights, blue with white tracer. There's two other blue with white tracers, and those are the ones go to the back on the tail lights, which tail lights and brake lights, I don't think they're going to be side oriented. You know, so I may have them cross, but they're probably going to be fine because they're both going to come on at the same time, whether it's tail lights or if it's set up for the brake lights again. So that's, you know, not a big deal there. But, you know, make sure, obviously red and red, yellow and yellow, white and white went back together because they were used to be just one wire. So there's that. But yeah, I got that going on. Yeah, I had spark and everything. After I rewired all that ganglion mess right there. So that's good. I got the throttle, or not throttle, choke working pretty decent now. That was a fight. Because the bracket was all bent up. I had to basically like pull on it pull on that on the choke knob. And come back here and keep using pliers to get the cable oriented to where it was going to pull it up, because otherwise it just stopped. I wouldn't do anything. Why is this not focusing? Zoomed in too far maybe. Anyway, I also built a bracket to hold the throttle cable up, because otherwise it was going to run into the primary clutch there. But yeah, there's that. Got the brakes working pretty good. I got in there and cleaned those up. Got them. They still had some padding left on them, so I just decided to just leave them as is and see how that went. Well, there's the steering mechanisms up in there. It was pretty stiff, so I ended up putting some WD-40 and some grease on it, and it loosened up really good the other day, but I think it's cold again, so it's a little stiffer. I think it's back on the ground too. And the front lights. In the middle, yeah. In the middle is the headlights, and on the sides are side markers and turn signals. I think the farthest one might be the side marker. So those two come on, and the headlights at the same time. And of course the turn signals aren't coming on because I don't have a turn signal, box that you would, stick on here and run the wires to, which they are still in there. If you take this panel out, you got the key switch, and then you got the inside. There's another pigtail, or whatever you want to call it, that is for the that would connect to the turn signal system there. So you can have them if you want them. They're just not. I don't have the ability to do that because I don't have one for it. If I sell this, which was more likely the case I was going to do, if they want to do it, they can do it. So it shouldn't be too hard. But this wire here, and that one there, or go to where the horn should be, which would go in that hole, but the holes are kind of misaligned because the floorboard here is kind of shrunk up over the years, and you can see it when you go in there underneath. But you could have horn on it, turn signals, pretty much make it street legal, including a license plate holder there, which would be kind of slightly obscured by the bed. See, there's the hinge points for the bed. This is for the that piece right there, which locks it into the up position in about 3 different places. So all the way drop down is here, in here, and then actually 4 places, all the way up is going to be here. Yep, they go on there, and then they lock in both right there and right there. I'll take it over there. This is the latch mechanism. That's where those hook on here. It's spring loaded. Then you got the handle. Sorry, I'm burping. Handle to lift it up with. That's the hinge points. And here's the prop, well, I guess you can call it a prop rod. Kind of like on a hood. It snaps into different places. You had to pull up on it and pull this down and then drop the whole thing back down. But it's not in too bad a shape. And what I did like about it is that there is actually a bed liner, a plastic bed liner on it, like a truck on it. That makes it nice and slick if you got to dump some dirt out or something. The only thing is the tailgate's missing. I'm going to have to get some steel together and fabricate something for that. Get some hinges and stuff. And then they would go, had to make it where they're going to latch in right here with this. At least the locking pins are still in there. Tethered locking pins, I should say. It's still a pretty good piece there. I mean, this is a lot more workable than the one that was on the Yamaha Moto 4, because that one was smaller than this, not as deep. Didn't have a bed liner. It didn't have a tailgate, but it didn't dump. It wouldn't raise and dump like this one does. This one's actually made to do that, so that's kind of cool. And there's a place on the other side with screws like this if you want to get like another handle, and you could have somebody else help you lift it, because I mean, this thing's pretty heavy to lift on its own. I couldn't imagine what it's like if it's full of something, a couple 100 pounds or more. Got tilt bed. To prevent injury and clear of tilt bed and low. Yeah, that's what it says. Tilt bed operation. Yep. So, get that cleaned up a little bit. I'm not sure if I had to paint it or not. It's pretty robust. I mean, it's got a little rust on it just for its age from sitting out, especially under the bottom. But it's not a huge deal underneath as much as it might be on top. And then with this on it, this should have helped keep it from getting rusty inside, or at least help prevent it pretty good. But I thought that was pretty cool. But it's EZ-Go, 1998 EZ-Go by Textron. So it's basically a TX, it's a longer version of a TXT with a dump bed. So, and then I'm gonna have to do something about this janky looking gear shift here. Got the original piece in the middle, but they welded it up with this and put that on it, and it's like, instead of going like forward and reverse, it's like forward and reverse this way. I think it's a neutral right now, but I'm gonna have to do something about that eventually. That's annoying. But yeah, I got that going on. The lights work. I think I'm gonna still do might do a little body work, so to speak, on the side panelings all around there, all bent up and crazy looking. That looks really nasty. Right there. It's all bent outward and everything. It's not as bad on this side. It's a little flared off right there. Not a big deal. But, here's the side of it. EZ-Go Workhorse. I think it's a 1200. It means it holds 1200. It'll hold 1200 pounds in the back. And like I said, you're going to have a fun time. Because it's designed between those holes there and that bracket back here, you could put a electric piston on it, so you could raise it. Raise it automatically instead of having to do it by hand, which would be nice. But those suckers are expensive. They're like running $1,400, and that's too much. I mean, if somebody had one laying around, they could find a good used one somewhere. They could do this, and it would make it a whole lot nicer machine. since you wouldn't have to lift it by hand all the time. You just run it up, run it down, put a switch somewhere. It's got this plastic piece here, it's missing that one over there because whatever happened on that side messed it all up. But I've been slowly improving it and fixing it up alongside with the Moto 4. Rub the steering wheel down with the WD-40. It looks a lot nicer than it did. Still got the 4 cup holders, 2 cubby holes. On some of them you could actually put a door like on that side to make like a glove compartment. That's kind of neat. Those are obviously like golf tee holders or something. Stuff like that. The brake pedal is kind of bent a little bit, but it's not causing it not to work, so I may or may not try to straighten that out sometime. It's also been really cold out here. I don't have a really good heat source, so it's like I just gotta get to stuff when I get to stuff. I had the old belt on, which I think that's it over there, to help kind of clean the rust and stuff off of the that side of the clutch, and I did a pretty good job. I mean, it looked at least like this, but it's like not smooth or smooth off. I saw that was a recommendation. If you're going to change belts, use the old one to clean the sheaves off. That's missing some of the pieces there, but it was working, so that's that. Still got tools and crap sitting around here. Solder those on. I don't know if there's anything else. The oil, I put a little bit of oil back here, some 80W90 gear oil in it. I didn't put a lot, but I was looking at it and I think underneath is the drain, and that screw, that bolt right there, focus. That bolt, I think, is the leveler. So I took that out and I had oil running out of that, so I'm thinking it's got plenty in it now, for sure. Muffler seems okay. There is a little strange little hole right there, but I don't think anything's leaking out of there as far as exhaust or anything, because it's basically just on the back side of that bolt. So I don't think that's an issue. If so, I can always shove some of the high heat steel putty in there. It should block that off pretty good. I had to clean up some grounds. This is the outfeed from the generator of the starter generator that's supposed to run to the system and charge everything, like the battery and everything. It was missing one completely. This wire is one of the wires that I got off the old ignition switch, which I didn't have a key for the original ignition switch that was in there, and I didn't have one for that one, so I had to end up getting a brand new one with keys, which is that one, and that's working fine. I just had to learn how the lights worked on it, because somebody on a forum said that this is like 2 switches in one. One side's for the ignition and one side's for lights. And like thinking on the Murray there, the power runs to a switch and it gets distributed from there. Well, this is different because it just distributes the ignition, or it distributes the lights. And that when you run power to this, you don't run power to lights. That's what was going on back here. I didn't know. Positive wire had to run to that fuse panel and out through the fuse and out through there, through the wiring, and up back to here for the lights when it switched over to that. So it's just a little different situation, a little different setup. So if you're not getting lights, which they will come on with the batteries hooked up if you switch them over by themselves, when everything's hooked up right. If you're not getting lights, it has nothing to do with power going to the ignition part of the switch, because it runs through. I think I got it backwards from somebody on the forum had, but what I have is I've got, of course, you got positive running out of here to this side, the big side here on the starter solenoid, And from there I have this wire with an inline switch, or inline fuse, running through here to the red on this red wire. That's the red wire that comes up to the ignition. And then I got the wire that comes off of the ignition, runs back, it's blue. So this blue one, right here. And I got that running to the green wire that goes to the new switch. Like I had to get under the pedal here. That's the micro switch for the pedal. And then when that closes off, when you're pushing on that, it comes back out to this red wire. This red wire comes out and it hits the small post on there, and it causes it to start. So that's pretty much what's going on there. It runs, it drives, it's getting better. Whatever's wrong with it, it's getting better. So for right now, that's about it. So that's all I got for now as far as the projects out in the garage. So I'll catch you guys later. If you don't see me, it's because I haven't made another video yet for a while. Later.